This arcade news video has been brought to you by Wallop Technologies.
Arcade Heroes.
Greetings, it's Adam with ArcadeHeroes.com, and it's been a little bit of a slow summer when it comes to arcade news, which is normal. Most of the time for this industry, news comes along mostly in the spring and the fall, and then not so much winter and summer. But with today's news, it's going to be talking about rhythm gaming, particularly Pump It Up 2023 Phoenix. As you can see, it's officially launching on August 14th. Now, before I really get into it, I need to state that I am not a Pump It Up expert. I'm not a DDR expert. I've played the games, but I am I'm not versed in all the minute differences between versions and the song lists and all the different features, because these particular games tend to get a little feature heavy. And with that, it's hard to keep track of that unless you're just really into, like, you eat, sleep, and breathe DDR or Pump It Up. And so I've even talked to people that work for the companies that design these things or at least sell them. And oftentimes they're not always well versed in everything about them either. So bear with me if I make any mistakes. My apologies in advance. I'm not doing it intentionally or maliciously. There may be some things I get wrong. So I'm just speaking from what I know or what I can recall. But anyways, so there was a little bit of confusion about this game. First off, because it just released in South Korea on July 4th. Now, it seems like they should have released the US version on the July 4th, but whatever. But there was also this Facebook post from the official Pump It Up account that mentioned the July 4th Korean release date, but then said it will finally be officially released in other countries on August 1st. Now, there is some leeway with that, but I guess it's arrogant for us to think, well, that just means United States. But I hadn't heard of any reaching Europe yet. But there was some confusion, because when I reached out to Andamiro to ask about it, they said, no, that's not accurate. It's not releasing here in the U.S. until later in the month, and I later clarified that it would be August 14th. And so that is when it's supposed to be hitting. But there was extra confusion because there have been users, like one on Twitter, who showed that they have one available to play publicly in North Virginia, saying it was the first Pump It Up in the States. And so people might be wondering, well, why can't I get it already? Well, you can order one, and so you could do that as soon as the game was announced, really, just through your distributor. But people that have been able to get it through earlier, like the one on Twitter, got it through other means. They didn't get it through Andamiro USA, and Andamiro did tell me that, well, there are some people that have the connections that are able to do that, and there's not much they can do about that. But anyways, here's the cabinet, and this isn't anything spectacularly different from what has been seen before, because this is using what's called the LX cabinet design. Now, I cannot recall exactly when the LX design came out. I want to say it was released with Pump It Up XX, which was the last version of the game that had been released, but it might have come out with Pump It Up 2017. Again, I'm a little hazy on that one. But it is the newest cabinet for it. It's really the best one that I've ever seen. I want to say that there is a black version of it too, but I've only ever really seen them in white. But I want to say that some years ago I did see a black model, or at least a photo of a black model. But if you're not really familiar with Pump It Up, as you can tell from the cabinet, it's a lot like DDR. That's what people often think when they see it, is they think DDR. But one major difference is the dance stage, as they call it down here, the dance controller. They changed the layout of the steps to be from the cardinal directions like DDR does, and put it at the diagonals. Now, personally, I prefer this setup because to me that's more natural as to how your legs are set up as opposed to the cardinal directions, which always feels a little bit off. But that's probably just personal preference. But yeah, you stomp on the arrows as they reach the top of the screen when they overlap with the ones at the top of the screen, and just do that throughout the songs. And so how to play is pretty much the same as DDR. There also is a stomp arrow in the center too. But what this new version adds to the mix, I do talk about that there, but we can go over to piugame.com to see that in a little bit more detail. And so they have, here it mentions 2 game modes, but there's really 3. If you use your am.pass card to access your player profile, your online profile, it unlocks a premium mode. So that's what makes 3. But basic mode is for the noobs, full mode is for the more advanced players, and then a premium mode for the elite of the elite. But I always appreciate when games, especially ones like this, have a basic mode for beginners, just because when you approach something like a DDR or a Pump It Up, it can be a little bit intimidating. That's particularly true at trade shows, but like in an arcade, it can be a little intimidating. And so anything to ease it in for players is always better. There's the cabinets. One thing that I'm not sure on is if this is brand new or a first for dance games or not, dancing arcade games, and that's the online matching system. What this means is that you will be able to go to any Pump It Up Phoenix machine, and you can play against somebody else in another arcade anywhere else in the world. And so I don't know if that was introduced with the last version of Pump It Up or if it's with this one. I've never heard of DDR doing that, but maybe they have. Again, this is one of those areas where I'm just not an expert on the features and the firsts of who did what first. But that is a cool feature. I mean, it's not the first time that arcades themselves have done it. There have been racing games and even light gun games where you can do cross-site play, like I think Big Buck HD introduced that years ago. But with a dance machine, I'm not familiar with it being the case. And then just some other stuff for players to enjoy. They'll have a game shop. They've readjusted a lot of step charts. I mean, that's a big thing, making custom step charts for a lot of pro players, but they've adjusted them to make the game easier to play. New scoring and plate system, so if you're one of those that can hit all the notes perfectly when it's maximum difficulty and they're streaming by at the speed of light, then you can get the perfect game badge. And then there are the AM Pass Net instructions. It's really just, you get a card from the arcade, tap it, keeps track of your stats and info, all that. And then, of course, how to play is pretty straightforward. But there are leaderboards online, top song steps, rankings, all that stuff, more details on the modes. The music list, of course, is one that's a big one. Andamiro themselves, USA, posted about the song lists, saying it's an impressive music lineup. If you're into K-pop, then you'll love Pump It Up. You probably already do. If you don't know anything about K-pop like me, then a lot of these are just words, and so whatever. But it has the latest hits, including Monster X's Beautiful Liar, Stacy's Teddy Bear, Ives Afterlife, and Dreamcatcher's Boca. And some other songs from other artists, including some composers that tend to be well known in the such as Naoki Underground and such. But yeah, so I don't know what the price is on this one. I want to say that Pump It Up XX had been somewhere in the realm of $15,000 to $16,000, but I could be wrong about that. I've never asked for a quote on a Pump It Up machine. I guess I should have asked for one here just so I could present to you what it might be. But one thing to keep in mind is that Pump It Up is available in a dedicated form with this cabinet, but if you have one of the older game cabinets, because they have several that they've released over the years, they are available as conversion kits. And the conversion kits, I mean, back when I used to sell arcade machines, I sold some Pump It Up conversion kits, and they were usually around a little over $2,000. Things might have gone up just with inflation and all that now, but still, if you already have a Pump It Up cabinet and you want to upgrade it to Phoenix, then there are options to do that on the cheap. But yeah, that's the newest Pump It Up. Again, shipping in the United States or North America on August 14th. Are you excited for this one, or are you more into one of the Pump It Up rivals, or do you enjoy all rhythm games, regardless who makes them and what they are? Sound off in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next piece of news in the next video.